Straight all day.
Now tuned into the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there even when the success you've expected to achieve has yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative. That is the go-getter energy that moves any one of us, including yourself, to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. And then we put all this together into a series of frameworks, approaches, insights, strategies, and techniques, all underneath the umbrella of one unifying philosophy that is called work on your game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today's topic is what makes a system? How do you actually know that you have a system as opposed to just a bunch of random actions that you are doing? What is specifically included, for lack of a better term? A better term is escaping me right now. What makes something a system? Now, before we get into that, let me tell everyone, I send out this daily motivation text message. Yes, a text message for free. Yes, for free. Every single day. Yes, every single day. To everyone's phone if you are in my text community. This is a message that's guaranteed to keep you focused, sharp, and on point. So if that sounds like the type of person you want to be, if you would like to get a text from me every day for free to your phone, the convenience of a text message, all you got to do is text me at my number, let me know you want it. My number is 305-384-6894. Every day when I send out that daily motivation, you being part of my text community will be a recipient. Second thing you need to know before we get into this topic is that if you have not yet claimed your free copy of my book called The Mirror of Motivation, the self-guide, the self-discipline, this book is all about what type of person you need to be, not how hard you need to work, not how you need to get yourself hyped up, but what type of person do you need to be so you can do the stuff you need to do to get the results that you want in life. It's a question many people never ask themselves, but it's the key question to success. Go get a free copy of the book. Yes, a free copy. All you got to do is cover the shipping by going to mirrorofmotivation.com. The book is free. Again, just cover the shipping. That's at mirrorofmotivation.com. And the third thing, if you are a person who's interested in increasing your revenue and income in business, but you don't want to have to do 10 times the work to make 10 times the money, understand that is possible. It's done by doing exactly what we're going to talk about here today, by making sure you have a system. I'm going to tell you exactly what our system is to help people like you do this, which we are already doing right now as you're listening to this. We are helping people like you do exactly this. I got a free training. It's 45 minutes long. I will give it to you. All you got to do is go to workonyourgame.net. Training is completely free. Go there and watch the training. Again, it's 45 minutes, so plan accordingly. Again, workonyourgame.net. All that said, let's get into the topic, which is what actually constitutes. That's the word. What constitutes a system? The definition of a system is a set of things working together as parts of a mechanism or an interconnecting network. That's the definition of a system. So how would you know? All of you are doing your thing now, working every day, working on yourself every day, working on your game every day, working on your business every day, whatever you're working on. How do you actually know that you're working by a system as opposed to working off of just randomness? I'm going to tell you some things that you should check yourself for. I'm basically going to give you a checklist here today to know if you have a system as opposed to something that ain't a system. You call it something else, but it ain't a system. All right, so check yourself for these points that I will be sharing here today. You ready? Good. Point number one. The topic once again is what makes or constitutes a system. Number one, your process, whatever it is documented. If your process is not documented, anything that I lay out here today in these points, if you don't have this, then you do not have a system. Okay, and if you have all these things, you have a system. So number one is documented. Your process, whatever it is, needs to be written down. It should be documented. This is the first and easiest step of having a system. So everything from this point forward, the next points that I make, they're going to be a little bit more challenging and take a little bit more time and effort than this one I'm giving you right now. So this is the easiest one for you to do. Do you have your process documented? The value of documentation, everybody, is that your system can be run by someone other than yourself when it is documented, or it doesn't require you to be a Superman or a Superwoman when your process is documented, because all you will do if it's written down is you just follow the documentation. So even when you're not at your personal best, you don't have to be, your mind doesn't even have to be firing on all cylinders. So all you're going to do is follow what you have already documented. So you don't even have to be in your best shape mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically. Just follow the system. The system will basically fill in the gaps for you in those moments. And even if you're not the one operating your process, You can have somebody else operate it if you have it documented, because all you're going to do is tell them to do step 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way through step 15, and they can produce the same outcome that you did. That's the value of documentation. Think of the example that we often use here of McDonald's. You and I could both work in McDonald's right now. I can make a burger and it'll come out perfect. You can make the same burger right after me, and yours is going to come out perfect too. It'll be identical burgers. Why? Not because both of us are geniuses or because we are necessarily thinking the same way. It's because McDonald's has a system and a process that is so clean and so tight that all either of us is doing is simply following a system. So it's not that either of us even has to be smart at all. Not even that smart, just smart, period. We don't have to be smart at all. All we got to do is follow the system. That's why McDonald's eventually, any of you who works at McDonald's, if you work in the back, like making the burgers and the fries and the fillet of fish, eventually that won't be a job for human beings. Eventually McDonald's will have robots doing that job. And as a matter of fact, there's someone working right now in some lab who's working on a computer chip that will actually replace humans in the back rooms of a place like a McDonald's or a Subway or a Chipotle or any of those kind of places where it's the same thing happening over and over and over and over again. They're doing human beings a favor by letting you all have a job there. So if you work at a place like that, I suggest you get your skills up, because eventually that job's going to be replaced by robots and you will no longer be needed. All right, so the value of documentation is someone other than yourself can do the job, and you're just following the documentation even if it's you. So to give you an example, anytime that I travel, I have this note in my phone of everything that I need anytime I do any type of traveling. And let me see if I can pull that note up so I can give you some examples of some of the stuff that I have in the note. Because the last time I was traveling, I actually forgot something. The packing list, so like my iPad, the charger for my iPad, compression shorts if I'm going to work out, the charger from my Apple Watch, toiletries bag, dress socks, workout sneakers and socks, lip balm, water bottle for when I work out, ties for when I wear suits, disinfectant wipes for when I get on the plane or anywhere else I might use disinfectant wipes, t-shirts if I'm going to need them, shower slides, because I usually wear shower slides when I get in the shower anywhere other than my own home, Airbnbs, hotels, etc. Shorts if I'm going to need them, long charger cord that I bring with me that I keep sometimes travel with, sneakers, dress socks, tripod if I'm going to record videos or anything like that when I'm traveling, which I usually do, my travel charger, workout earbuds. I'm not going to list everything that's on this list. It's actually pretty long. A phone charger just in case I'm going to if I'm going to be in a vehicle, or if I'm going to rent a vehicle, I'm going to need a charger so I can plug in an aux cord so I can listen to music through my phone through the car. Yoga mat and stretching strap if I'm going to bring it with me. Suits, I'm going to need them. Face wash and face cream, razors, cartridges, dress shoes, tie clip, workout towels, glasses case. I wear contact lenses, so when I take my glasses off at night, my contacts out at night. And there's a bunch of stuff on that list. I'm sharing that to help you understand that alone is a system. So that the next time that I travel, instead of me having to think, all right, what else am I going to need? What else am I going to need? What else am I going to need? I don't have to remember anything. All I got to do is open up that note on my phone, and all I do is just check every time I add something to the suitcase and I have it packed, I just check it off of the list. So then the day when I'm about to leave, all I got to do is look at that list and see what has not been checked off yet. That might be things that I use like every day or every night up to that exact moment that I'm leaving. I make sure I pack those and I'm done. I got everything in there. And if I notice that I forgot something, that because it wasn't on the list, then I just add it to the list. And there are a few things that I forgot last time I traveled. I had to add them to the list, make sure that I don't forget them next time. That alone is a system. All right, so a system doesn't have to be, folks, this big complicated thing that fits into like a 6-inch binder. It can be simple enough as just you have a documentation of what needs to be done to achieve an outcome. And because I have something documented, I don't have to remember what to do. Now, that's what a system does for you. That's one thing it does for you. The system does the remembering for you, and the documentation makes it into a system. Now, again, there are other systems out there that can be much more complex than this, but I want you to understand the basic fundamental points of what makes something a system. So that's one thing that it makes something a system. Here's the second thing, point number 2. Today's topic, once again, is what constitutes a system. Number 2 is that your system can run without the talent of any one individual. Look at what I just gave you as an example, my packing list from when I'm traveling. I technically could have somebody, I could hire somebody to come to my house, look at that list that's on my phone, and they could, as long as they know where everything's at, they could actually pack everything that I need for my trip without me having to do anything. All right, my personal talent is not required for that suitcase to get packed as long as I have it documented, because somebody else can do it. Someone else could actually do all of that stuff as long as they know where the things are at. A sound system can be operated by anyone who has basic baseline knowledge and abilities. So anyone who can read English and they can actually identify where these items are that are on my packing list, they can actually pack my suitcase for me. All right, they don't have to have any specialized talents or information. See, a system can even be run by the person who created it when they're not fully on their game, as I already said. So for example, if I have a system, which I do, of working out the same way all the time, I have a process for what I do in my workouts. I know what my workout is any day of the week, Monday through Saturday. Usually on Sundays I take off. Actually, the day that I'm recording this on a Monday. So yesterday was Sunday. I did not take off yesterday because I had taken some time off from running because I had a calf injury, but now my calf is feeling better, so I ran yesterday, but usually I don't. But Monday through Saturday, I can tell you exactly what workout I'm doing, exactly where I'm going to do it, how long it's going to take, what I'm going to do after that. I know exactly what my process is every single time. And the reason that I'm bringing that up to help you understand how this is a system is that even when I'm not feeling my best, I can still do my workout because the system is what is doing the system is what is driving the habit, and the action is not based on how great I'm feeling in the moment. It's about me actually following my process. So to give you an example, actually today is a perfect example. Last night my son was crying crazy last night, probably somewhere around 12:30 a.m. Now I am never awake at 12:30 a.m. If I'm awake at 12:30 a.m., it's either New Year's Eve or something has gone. It's either New Year's Eve, I'm traveling, or something has gone wrong. All right, so at 12:30 a.m., I won't say my son crying is something going wrong, or my son is crying while he's still a baby. So he was crying crazy. He was crying enough that I could hear it. So I woke up and I relieved his mother from having to hold the baby so much. And I held him for a while. I held him for about 45 minutes. He eventually fell asleep, and eventually everybody went to sleep. And the reason that I'm bringing it up is that that was not my normal process of sleeping. Getting up in the middle of the night at 12:45 and then going to sleep again at sometime after 1 o'clock. The point is, though, I still woke up at my normal time, which is before 4 a.m. and I still went and did my workout and followed the rest of my daily process, which I am doing right now. This is Monday when I'm recording this. Still followed everything the same, even though I probably was not at my mental or physical peak, simply because I didn't get a full night of uninterrupted sleep. So maybe I wouldn't be able to do as many pull-ups in the gym or run as fast. I wasn't actually running today, but I still got the workout in. You could even call that a third day situation, simply because the conditions were not ideal. And that allows me to stick to my disciplines and push through those moments when things are not perfect until I can get back to my peak self and perform at an even higher level when I'm at my peak level and nothing interrupts me. The challenge for many people is that if something like what I just described doesn't happen, and something like that I just described does happen, and they're not feeling their best, therefore you don't have access to your full complement of resources, is that they just don't even show up to the third day. I mean, that's the whole purpose of the third day, is showing up even when you don't feel like it, or when you're not in your ideal state. But this is why you have to have a process, so that you have a reason to show up. There's a process to follow. If there was no process for me to follow, I could have easily justified sleeping in an extra hour or two. I didn't need to be up at that time for anyone else's commitments. It was just for my personal commitment. And this is what caused a lot of people to lose their momentum when they don't show up, because something threw them off of their normal routine, because their process is not strong enough to keep them showing up on its own. And then what happens is it rolls back all the gains that you had gotten from being consistent. You lose them all because you allowed this one moment to throw you off. So what a system does is it keeps you on your game even when you don't feel like being on your game. The system picks up the slack where you have left off. Point number 3. Today's topic, once again, is what constitutes a system? That is a question that we're answering. Number 3 is that your system is measurable and predictable, or at least the outputs of your system are measurable and predictable. And this is what systems do. You know you have a system when you are producing measurable and predictable results. You have a solid idea of what you're going to get, i.e. your outcome, and you can reasonably predict that it's going to happen. That doesn't mean it happens every single time, no, but you can reasonably predict that most of the time it's going to happen. That's what a good system does consistently. So using myself as an example again, I talked about how I like to run. I run like the 10K distance, and I usually run when I'm running on my own somewhere between 6 and 7 miles a few times every week. Now I know I can predict that as long as I'm sticking to that system and that process, and I know what my warm up is like, I know what my cool down is like, I know the foam rolling that I do and the stretching and the icing of my legs, my lower body, and getting in the jacuzzi and doing all that stuff, all of that is part of that process. I know that when I'm doing that consistently and following my own process, that if I enter a 10K race and I'm going to run somewhere in the neighborhood of anywhere from 6 minutes and 40 seconds per mile to 7 minutes per mile. I'm going to run somewhere in that neighborhood for a 10K distance with the 6.25 miles. I know that that's going to happen every single time. That's a measurable and predictable result. And I know that in my age bracket, that's going to beat most of the people who I run against in the races that I get into. So it's a measurable, predictable result also that I can expect to finish in the top 3 in my age group in any race that I enter, which is my goal. If I finish in the top 3, I'm good. Now, there are probably, because every once in a while there may be some anomaly, somebody who's some emaciated, skinny guy who runs like 6 days a week and he's a little bit faster than me. Usually that happens. Usually it may be one, maybe 2 guys in every race who's in my age bracket who is in that category. But then many times, about half the time there is somebody, and then half the time there's nobody, and I'm like blowing the competition out of the water. So the next 2 races that I have this year, because by the time you hear this, I will probably have run one of them, and then another one's coming up. So I got one on November 12th and another one on Thanksgiving Day. In one of those races, there'll probably be at least 1 or 2 of those guys who's like crazy runner guy. I'm not a crazy runner guy. I run them, but I'm not a crazy runner guy. That might be able to beat me, but I can still have the reasonable expectation, measurable and predictable, of coming in the top 3 in my age group. Why? Because I have a system. Not because of just my ego saying that. My ego is part of it, but you got to understand, what's the process to success, folks? Be, do, and have. So ego is part of being. So because of the ego part that is wanting to win a competition, which I definitely have, I'm willing to do things by process and system, which allows me to have the measurable and predictable outcomes that I'm expecting of myself. You see how that process is followed? It doesn't go, you do the stuff, then you get the ego. No, the ego comes first. Then you do the stuff that supports the ego, and then you get the results that verifies what the ego was already saying. All right, so there's a process to all of this, and all of this stuff is interconnected, as you can see. So one reason why you want to operate by a system is because you want to know exactly what you're going to get, how you're going to get it, and when you're going to get it. Again, so think of your favorite fast food places, aforementioned, like a Burger King, McDonald's, or Subway. The food tastes the same no matter where you get it from. All right, no matter what location you're at. You're in Tennessee, you're in Miami, you're in New York, you're in London. Maybe in Europe it might be a little bit different. They might use a little bit different ingredients. But let's just say anywhere in America, the system is pretty much the same. If you order something on Amazon and you live in Virginia, or you live in Iowa, or you live in Arizona, the process for how Amazon actually gets it to you is pretty much the same every single time. Your app in Amazon was the same as my app in Amazon, just got different stuff in it, depending on what we buy. If you go to an Apple store, no matter where it is, the experience is pretty much the same no matter which one you go to. The reason why these experiences are so consistent and they have very little variation is because these companies, they got as big as they are is because they are run by systems, not because these people are so super talented. Probably the person who put the system together is very talented and smart, but the people who work there on a day-to-day basis in each one of these locations, they may be smart, but that's not the reason why the system is so tight. It's not because the people are just geniuses, it's because the system is so great. That doesn't matter who works within the system. Actually, let me not say it doesn't matter. It matters, but it doesn't matter that much. All right, they don't have to be that good. All they got to do is follow the system. If the system is good enough, it doesn't matter how good the people are. So if you are interested in systems, you should aim to have the experience of you and the things that you do working the same way over and over and over again, working the same things the same way every time. Like I talked about in episode 2013, the same things the same way every time. All that said, actually in a minute also I'm going to tell you how you can start putting these systems in place in your business specifically. But let's recap today's class first, which is what constitutes a system, which is a set of things working together as parts of a mechanism or interconnecting network. Number 1, your system is documented. This is the first and easiest step of having a system. You need to have it written down exactly what your process is. Step 1, step 2, step 3, whatever it is. It's very simple. It is as simple as it sounds. Just do it. Number 2, your system can run without the talent of any one individual. If your system is based on or dependent on the talents of you or anyone else who is like you, then your system has a flaw in it, in that if anything happens to you or that you are not available, then your system can't run, which means it's technically not even a system. A system should be able to work regardless of who is operating it, as long as the person has some baseline level ability. So your system should be able to say, as long as you can do this, this, and this, you can operate this system. And that should not, this, and this should not narrow the field down to just one person. If it does, then it's not really a system. Number 3, your system produces measurable and predictable results. That's what systems do. That's the reason why we do systems, so that you know what you're going to get, you can actually predict what you're going to get, and you can measure what you're going to get, and you can do it over and over again. It's like McDonald's, Burger King, and Subway. You know what the sandwich is going to taste like no matter what location you go to. That's why if you're traveling and you want some food, but you see a bunch of places you've never heard of before, but you want something you know you can trust, and you see a McDonald's, you're like, all right, let's go to McDonald's. Like, why? Because you know exactly what the food is going to taste like. That's the proof of the system. You see an Apple store, even when you're in some city you've never been in, you go to the mall, you see an Apple store, you know what it's going to be like. The experience is the same no matter where you go. So if you're interested in systems, let me tell you what to do. Go to workonyourgame.net and access my free 45-minute training with the 5 things that business professionals can do to increase the revenue in your business without making yourself work 10 times harder, how you can increase your revenue. And it's all based on the concept of putting systems in place. That training is free. It's just 45 minutes of your time. Go to workonyourgame.net. Second thing is go to your phone, the text messaging app, and send a text to my number, which is 305-384-6894. And then every day when I send out the daily motivation text, you will be receiving it straight to your phone, free of charge. All that said, work on your game. Dre all day.